You don't want militarized people in the streets just roaming around, snatching people up, many of which turn out to actually be U.S. citizens that just don't have their papers on them.
That's
Are
not
we
many of
really
which.
going to be
That's
the Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to? So it's more complicated than I think people want to admit. You know, people want to look at this as a black and white issue, you know, if you're a compassionate person or if you're a pragmatic person. And I don't think that's true. I think it's both.
Actually, that's exactly what it is. The only part where I diverge with Joe Rogan is where he says, I don't think that's true. I think that is exactly true. I'll tell you something else that's scary is the Constitution. I don't mean the written Constitution, the Constitution of people in this country right now. It just is definitely easier to be a leftist, to be a liberal in the 21st century. Because no one really faults you if you say, well, I really feel for this person. I feel bad and I care about people. If that comes with no prerequisites, with no boundaries, well, you sound like a nice person. But we see what the results are. It ends up hurting far more people.
You could say that about anybody.
Yeah.
And the left doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that, I know he's a pedophile, but I just can't help but feel bad. He's struggling.
Right.
He's attracted to minor persons. He can't help it. I feel so bad for him.
Right, exactly. Maybe he had some tough breaks. Yeah, we don't care. At a certain point, you have to cut out the cancer.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's been a sickness festering in the United States. And by the way, most Americans recognized it. On an intellectual level, we have to do something. That's why most Americans supported not only a wall, supported not only dealing with illegal immigration, but even supported deportations. Now that people see what that looks like, they feel bad about it. And so I'm going to walk you through it and then ask, well, what better way would there be to do it? Hey, right now, let me just set the stage. This is where we are. If you're here illegally, okay, you can self-deport on the CBP One app. Flights will be paid for. You get $1,000 cash. I believe they still have the $1,000 cash. And you can go through the right way. You can get back in the queue. That's available to you right now. If you don't, well, then you will be found and you will be deported. If that is not acceptable, please tell me the alternative.
Yeah, is there a dollar amount that would appease you? That would quench your thirst?
Yeah. What
is there a dollar? Is it $10,000 self-deport? Is that okay?
Right. Assuming that you understand we need to deport people here illegally and it's a problem. If not, well, that's fine. Then you must be a leftist. But if you believe that illegal aliens need to be out of this country, which most of you did, how do you do it outside of self-deport? Here's a ticket, here's cash, or we're going to do it for you. You can compare it to anything. Hey, impeding ICE officers, committing felonies. Well, if not, ma'am, get out of the vehicle. Okay, ma'am, we are going to remove you from the vehicle. Oh, you hit an officer? Consequences. If not that, then what? Because the only alternative I've come up with is lawlessness.
Yeah.
And I get that enforcing the law is sometimes hard to watch. That doesn't mean that it is any less necessary. So during his podcast with Rand Paul, Joe Rogan specifically addressed ICE. And I will say they cut out some context, but I don't think the context makes his statement something that I agree with regardless. But still, it's very clear what the left was doing. Joe Rogan compared ICE to the Gestapo, and here is CNN, the same people who tried to destroy him during COVID, gleefully playing his clip. They agree with him now.
Here is how podcaster Joe Rogan described it.
You don't want militarized people in the streets just roaming around, snatching people up, many of which turn out to actually be U.S. citizens that just don't have their papers on them. Are we really going to be the Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to?
That has also become a big part of this so-called enforcement.
Yeah, and I'm going to play the long clip, but no, that's not true, by the way. That is incorrect from Joe Rogan. As far as he was asking a question, then it was characterized by CNN. We talked about this yesterday. Report from ProPublica, 170 U.S. citizens total arrested by ICE. 72% were held for interfering with ICE, as you have seen on video. The remaining 28% were questioned and released. It is not a problem. It's not a thing. There's no comparison to the Gestapo, but for the sake of transparency, here's more context to Joe Rogan's statements.
I see both perspectives. I see the perspective of the people that say, hey, there was an illegal program moving people in here to get votes, moving people in here to get congressional seats, and we've got to change that. We've got to take those people that got in and send them back to where they came from or do something, because if we don't, they're going to keep doing it if they get in office again in 2028, and it's going to accelerate. And you're going to have to take away some of the damage that's been done to a true democratic system because you've kind of hijacked it. And they kind of have. And then I can also see the point of view of the people that say, yeah, but you don't want militarized people in the streets just roaming around, snatching people up, many of which turn out to actually be U.S. citizens that just don't have their papers on them.
Well,
Are
not
we
many of
really
which,
going to be
that's
the
incorrect.
Gestapo? Where's your papers? Is that what we've come to? So it's more complicated than I think people want to admit. People want to look at this as a black and white issue, if you're a compassionate person or if you're a pragmatic person. And I don't think that's true. I think it's both.
Actually, that's exactly what it is. The only part where I diverge with Joe Rogan is I don't think that's true. I think that is exactly true. And I think it's reflected. We'll bring up the Harvard-Harris poll first. When you look at the Harvard-Harris poll that was in October 2025, not long ago, deport criminals, 78% approve. Deport all illegal aliens, 56% approve. So a majority approve deporting all illegal aliens. A super majority approve deporting criminals. But then you contrast that with the enforcement methods. And this is from Quinnipiac. 57% disapprove of ICE's methods, with only 40% approving. So the only disconnect that we see here is you think we need to get rid of all illegal aliens. Okay, how many hands? Well, most of you. Okay, how many of you think that we absolutely need to get rid of all criminals? Oh, almost all of you. Great. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. They can self-deport on an app, get $1,000, get a flight. That's the part that's never mentioned. Or, obviously, we're going to have to send people in to deport them, right? Because they don't want to be deported. But you said we need to deport them all, right? Then you don't like what that looks like.
Yeah.
So this is incumbent upon the people who say we need to deport criminals and illegal aliens. It is incumbent upon you. How do you do it? Because there are two ways right now. Self-deport or we deport for you. I don't know of an option number 3 that would work. So I do think there are people who are pragmatic. Of course, none of us like seeing people who aren't violent criminals being deported if they're seeking a better life. But that's why I'm a conservative. It has to be done. You can't go through your entire life thinking that it's a Disney movie where the dad quits his job so he can spend more time with his family. They don't show you the sequel where he's out on the street, where everyone is nice to everybody and everyone gets what they want. That's not what happens. You break the law. Most people know that you have no right to do that. Most people support the idea of you being deported. Then how do we do it? Genuinely. Comment below, because I don't think that anyone else has an answer. And all of this, by the way, was further reflected. People who don't have the stomach for it, who are not taking a pragmatic approach, being upset. Watch CNN.
A CNN poll shows that Americans surveyed are critical of the conduct of
Willard.
ICE's agents in last week's shooting of Renee Good. 56% of respondents called the force used in the shooting an inappropriate use of force. 26% believe it was appropriate.
Watch this next one.
18% say they haven't heard enough to say. The poll also reported that 51% of respondents said ICE actions are making cities less safe. 31% said ICE is making cities safer. 18% said those actions didn't have much of an effect either way. Clearly, 18% is not really following the news.
Okay, so here's how I can prove to you that it's feelings-based versus results-based. A very small but majority of people think that ICE is making cities less safe. We have just seen the single largest drop in murder in 1 year ever. The single biggest 1 year drop in a murder rate ever in this country. And that's after the COVID bump, right? It went up, went down, stabilized, and we've seen the biggest drop in the murder rate that you have seen in your lifetime. Overdoses, particularly fentanyl, they are now at their lowest since Trump's first term. We have seen the single biggest drop in annual overdoses. So you can feel like your cities are less safe. They are safer. What makes you feel like they're less safe is exactly what you are watching. It's making you more safe. This is exactly what Joe Rogan said he disagreed with. It is people who know that what is necessary must be done. People who agree that it should be, but don't like what they see. Americans, where is your individual constitution? If you don't have the stomach for this, then how do you talk about taking your country back? How do you talk about make America great again? So let's do a little bit of then and now. Let's go to now. And this is how you know it's all emotions based. CNN right now freaking out over ICE.
There's over 2,000 of them. And they've been attacking and terrorizing.
It's making it so hard for us to burn it down.
We're seeing this armed militia essentially acting as though Americans
federal
have
agency.
no right.
Ongoing ICE enforcement
Literally the
operations
opposite
are
of
really
militia.
just fueling tensions constantly across the Minneapolis community.
Terrorizing communities. They are ripping families apart. And they are
From their
creating
pedophile
danger,
fathers.
as we saw, where they claim to be creating safety.
People legitimately panicked about their safety when they see ICE walking down the street.
And I will tell you, ICE has made cities more safe. Donald Trump's approach has made cities more safe. The people tearing the cities apart are the people who literally tore the cities apart to the tune of billions of dollars and thousands of casualties of fellow civilians and even local police officers. You can always check that cheat sheet on Summer of Love. We have it there. Billions, thousands of casualties. That means both deaths and serious injuries. And right now, your city is most likely safer than it's been in your lifetime. Now let's go back to then. Under Barack Obama, CNN specifically aired pretty sympathetic portrayals of ICE.
Radio check.
Under the cloak of darkness in Chicago,
Attack one, guys.
an immigration and customs enforcement team gears up for another long day,
Copy.
pursuing undocumented immigrants who have been convicted of crimes in the U.S. Endless man hours wasted trying to find people they could have picked up at the local jail.
What?
Were it not for a Cook County law prohibiting local police and jail officials from even notifying ICE before releasing an undocumented criminal back onto the streets. As the sun rises on Chicago, the risk for the team ramps up.
The whole tempo of everything gets escalated.
Ma'am, can you open the doors to police?
There's a lot of risks when we're having to do this out in the street like this. You always have risk to ourselves, the officers, risk to the innocent bystanders.
And let me prove to you that the remarkable inconsistency takes place on one side. Barack Obama was president for 8 years. Joe Biden was former vice president for 4. Find me one piece where any conservatives went after ICE. Ever. Find me one. Even Fetterman, the guy who had a stroke, weighed in on this and said, "Are you out of your tree, sir?" Here's Fetterman. Sorry, easy mistake to make clip. Here's the real clip.
Now, this is from the Washington Post. You know, this is the latest statistics. These are people that ICE now are, it's like now 67% have criminal charges, pending ones, or that. So that's more than 2/3. You know, the people now there are some people that aren't involved in any kinds of illegal things, you know, but so me, I think two things can be true. You know, round up all the criminals, deport them. They shouldn't have ever been here, and they definitely have to go. And now I don't know, want to see more and more things happening in Minneapolis now too. So two things must be true. And I strongly reject the extreme on either side, you know, about this.
Yeah. Were you about to say something?
I thought Fetterman was about to say point number 2.
Point number 2.
I never got to it.
But I will give him.
waiting
I'll give him some grace. Because it's actually neurological. It's not because he's.
I hope he runs in 2028.
His head just can't find his way there.
Here's the thing, though. When people say extremes, okay. Right now, I'll paint this really simply for you, the extremes. Okay? The left extreme, we've seen them burn down cities. We've seen them assault federal officers. We've seen them loot, steal. They don't believe that anyone should be deported. We've seen leftist policies basically bar you from deporting violent felons who are in our prison systems right now. They're illegal aliens in American prisons who the left protects from being deported. That's the extreme. And by the way, that's the mainstream platform. Okay. The right's extreme, when we say two extremes. Here's an app, self-deport. Here's a ticket. Here's some cash. Otherwise, we're going to do it for you. Which one's more radical? Comment below. And I ask you, if you think that's still a gray area, how do you enforce federal law when Democrat politicians are actively working against them? Illinois, Oregon, California, Minnesota, obviously. Let me ask you this. If the law of the land, it's not a state issue, but a federal issue, is murder is illegal. Okay? And Minneapolis says, no, we're not going to jail murderers. I'm using an extreme example, a thought exercise to make a point. Murder is illegal federally. Do we all agree with the premise? That is not a state issue. There's a reason for federal law. And Minnesota, Minneapolis, Twin Cities says, no, we're going to allow murder. And we're not going to allow anyone to come in and say that these murderers can't be out in the streets. Now do theft, do arson, do any other violent crime, which, by the way, is exactly who these federal officers are seeking out. But of course, they have to deport any illegal they come in contact with. The good news is this could be done far more efficiently. It could be done far more easily. Listen to Tom Homan explain this and what these governments can do if you want to avoid the two extremes. Just work with us to get rid of at least the people we can all agree upon should be gone, right?
President Trump made us promise to American people, we're going to find these criminals and make this America safe again. So if they don't let us into jail, we're going to go in the community. And the difference is, in places that's not a sanctuary, one agent can walk into a jail and arrest one criminal illegal alien. But when you release them in the community, now we got to send the whole team because we got to arrest somebody on their turf. They have access, who knows what weapons. It makes it dangerous for the officer, makes it dangerous for the alien, certainly makes it dangerous for the community. So if Minneapolis wants to help, like I saw Mayor Frey do an interview this morning, let us in your damn jail. What's the downside of letting a federal law enforcement officer with immigration authority talk to an illegal alien that you already locked up and put in a jail cell? It's ridiculous that they're pushing back on that.
And I have been saying this for close to a decade now. And I remember the moment that I found out, wait a second, we have illegal aliens in our prisons? I remember going, wait a second, wait. And not only do we have illegal aliens in our prisons, it's not just like an oversight. Democrat politicians are ensuring that they remain in our prisons?
Yeah, I thought that was a conspiracy.
Yeah. I was under the impression before that if someone committed a crime and went through the process, right, of being charged, going through a trial, being convicted, I thought, if at any point they find out that you actually are an illegal alien, you'd be deported. You know, how all societies have done it since ever. And then I found out, so we actually not only don't deport them, we feed them, we house them, and then you have politicians protecting them. It's never been about anchor babies. It's never been about dreamers. People will say reductive. Yeah, let's be reductive. I call it sort of finding the choke point. All right, where's the choke point here? Where are we not? We're not able to get past. What is it? Is it parents who have a kid and we feel bad for? No, okay, it's not that. Oh, it's we think that all illegal aliens should be deported, but we're willing to maybe compromise and say certainly violent criminals first. The left, mainstream left, thinks you can't deport illegal aliens who are also violent criminals and are currently taking up space in our prison system. See why tribalism is important? You can't link arms with those people.
What the heck is that?
These are scripts I wrote today for you to approve.
Those are all scripts?
Yeah, well, I mean, technically some of them are songs, but got a lot of really cool stuff in here. Got some ABBA parodies in here. I know you love ABBA, big ABBA guy. Everyone always talks about you love ABBA.
And you wrote them all today?
That's what I said!
How in the world were you able to write all of those?
Fast, Gerald, real fast!
Josh, how many cups of blackout coffee have you had today?
How many cups of coffee? This guy, can you believe that? How many cups? I don't know. How many cups of coffee? How many pieces of bear shit in the woods, Gerald?
I have no idea how I would even know that.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't know that, would you? I forgot.
No.
You wouldn't know that. You got no experience. I know that. You know why I know that? Because I've seen things, man. Oh, the things I've seen.
Josh, listen. No more blackout coffee today. You're done, okay? Tomorrow, coffee. Today, no more coffee.
One more.
No. Josh, 0 more cups of... Josh, Get out of my office. No more cups of coffee. Go.
All right.
Go.
All right, whatever you say, boss.
Okay, fire Josh.
Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Crowder. Use the promo code Crowder for 20% off your first order and try the new exclusive Strange Animal Brew. Yes, I chose the beans. It is the blend that we drink here exclusively, and now I'm making it available to you.
I just want to offer something to Joe Rogan because I think he's living in a false, I don't know, he's got this like false dichotomy set up where the compassionate thing and the pragmatic thing are not the same thing, but they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
The pragmatic thing is compassionate.
Yeah.
It's compassionate to American citizens. And it's a compassionate in at least the following ways. Housing prices and rents will go down. Jobs will be gotten by American citizens instead of jobs being stolen. You'll have lower crime in most of these places, not because all immigrants are criminals, but because when you force people to live in kind of a shadow economy, there's crime, they get taken advantage of. It's a much more dangerous place. Healthcare will go down significantly because when people that are illegal, they use the emergency rooms and hospitals pass that expense on to the consumers. That's why healthcare costs go up in a large part. And billions of dollars in aid that is given to these people that is essentially stolen or sent out of the country won't be leaving the country anymore.
Yeah.
That's compassionate. That's very compassionate to the American citizen. I don't know why we don't think of the American citizen as the primary focus and then start from there. Right now, we seem to be prioritizing illegal aliens and trying to be compassionate towards them. And I'm like, yes, look, we can do that too.
Yeah.
But start with me. Like I'm the guy who's bought into the system. I'm a member. Like I thought there were privileges with membership here. Start with me, then go out. And I don't know why people keep thinking you have to make a choice on one side or the other. The pragmatic decision is the most compassionate choice you can make, period.
Also, that's a very good point. I would say the same applies to trans athletes. Well, it's compassionate to the women.
Right,
I would say the same thing applies to a litany of, same thing applies to the tax code. And I will say this, for all of your criticisms of Donald Trump, and I would agree with, like we've discussed, I mean, certainly his stance on Iran in practice, you do have to acknowledge that he is most consistently aligned with policies. And that doesn't mean he always does. He has more consistently aligned with or enacted policies that benefit the American middle class in a way that no other president has. So you may not like the fact that, for example, they haven't seen the biggest tax break, but those who are wealthy haven't seen the same kinds of tax breaks. But he has made sure that those who are American middle class have not seen their taxes go up and have seen quite a few breaks. He has made sure, for example, the American middle class, those most likely to homeschool, had more opportunities, had more benefits, had more tax credits. He has made sure that American home buyers, they're the American middle class, they're the ones who stand to gain the most from banning institutional investors from buying up single-family homes. And he wants to enact that. It is the American middle class who benefits most from a lot of these policies that deal with illegal immigration. For proof of that, just go to the Nebraska meatpacking plant. You can argue as to whether it will be a net benefit overall, or you think it's the wrong approach, tariffs, et cetera. But for all of this rhetoric we hear about, it's no longer left versus right, it's class warfare, which I don't really agree with. You wouldn't be able to point to a president who has done more for the American middle class than Donald Trump. You wouldn't. Not Barack Obama, not Joe Biden, not George W. Bush. Not in our lifetime. You can't say he's the crony capitalist who wants to make all of his friends rich. Yeah, well, why did he ban institutional investors? Why did he want to make it easier and more cost effective to homeschool? And Biden and Obama didn't. Why did he want to bring down drug prices? That doesn't affect the wealthy in the same way. And I'm not saying that should dictate your policy, but I am saying as a matter of observing results, I don't know that you could point to one. So even if you say it's not us versus them, it's class warfare. It's not left versus right, sorry, it's us versus them, us versus the elites. He's definitely hamstrung the elites in a way that no other president has, which I think surprised a lot of people because he's the first billionaire to become president.
Yeah.
I think ever. I mean, I don't know if you adjust for inflation. There might be someone like back in the day who had $400 to their name and adjusted for inflation. It's
a lot.
Yeah, it's Putin money. I don't know. Yeah. But were you about to say something there, Noodles?
I was just going to say economically, I think it might also be a part of our kind of social media culture, that instant gratification culture where people can't really see the long-term effects of some of the things that he's putting together. So they downplay it as, I don't see more money in my pocket right now, and can't see that kind of long game that really he's playing. So
who benefits most from greater energy stability in dealing with Venezuela or Iran, or opening up, more federal land for leases? Who benefits the most? Do you think that the wealthy really feel that? No, it's you. You also feel it in your grocery prices. I get it. Nothing's been fixed overnight. But these are the issues that actually affect the American working class. Now, you could then say, yeah, but he still sends money to foreign countries. Okay, that's to the tune of a few $1 billion here and there. It's not even close. Hey, who benefits the most from saving tens of billions of dollars on SNAP with sugary sodas? Hey, who stands to benefit most when people have to meet work requirements or job-seeking requirements or identification requirements for welfare and social services? It's not the people who've been using those, taking those, paid for by the middle class for decades. It's the middle class who have to pay for them. And I know then the course needs to follow where you lower taxes, obviously, once you clean up those costs. And I know that we're not there yet, but examining fraud and abuse, if you add it all up, it's over $1.5 trillion a year. Who do you think that benefits most if we're able to clean that up, and if we're able to create, as a result, tax policies, incentives, and breaks for you? It's going to be to the American working class. And by the way, that includes everyone who's lower middle class, just above poverty, all the way up to a couple $1,000,000 a year. They would all be included. And that's also when people say class warfare. Well, what do you mean? What's the income bracket where it cuts off? I'm pretty clear about it. It's anyone, for me, who's too big to fail. They hold a very, very different viewpoint. And that even means someone who's worth $500 million, who's run a business, could be a meat packing plant, could be wax paper machines, whatever the hell it is. There are plenty of people who run industries in this country who are very wealthy. They have a very different outlook than Vanguard, State Street, Microsoft, Goldman Sachs, the too big to fail, who will receive a never-ending supply of your tax dollars as bailouts. That's my cutoff. My cutoff is anyone who has been able to lobby and effectively benefit from cronyism in this country. That's my cutoff. I'm not going to hate my neighbor because he makes $5 million a year or $10 million a year or $20 million or $50. I'm not going to hate him just because he's successful. I'll have a problem with someone who's dishonestly gaming the system.
Yeah.
We need to define our terms.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we need to define what we're willing to do, what we're okay with. That's really all this is about as it relates to ICE. You need to offer an alternative because there has never been an alternative offered, and the problem has gotten worse. It's like someone saying, "Oh no, don't put any rubbing alcohol on that cut. Don't put any hydrogen peroxide on that cut." Okay? What do I put on it? I'll get back to you. Well, our representatives have been getting back to us for close to 2 decades. So Donald Trump said, "All right, I put in peroxide. This might bubble up a little bit."
Yeah, that's exactly right. But you know what they want. You know exactly what they want.
Exactly.
You know what they're going to say. Amnesty. You know what that means? Voters.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what they want. We've done that before. We've tried that before. Reagan tried that. He got the amnesty. He didn't get the wall. He didn't get the border security. Whoops. Probably ought to do that one first. It's kind of like a hostage situation. Like maybe get the thing you want first before you give up all your leverage.
Yeah.
And didn't happen. So no, we're not going to do that anymore. And we called this. We called this from when Donald Trump was elected, even before that. But specifically, we said, listen, what's going to happen when they start going into these cities and doing deportation? The media is going to start picking cases to try to show you something that breaks your heart so that you'll say, we can't do it.
Yeah.
And we have to stop thinking about this like the media thinks about this. And we said that a long time ago. It's exactly the playbook
and
everything they've done.
And it is about votes, because why do you think they're so opposed to it? Let me paint this picture for you. Some of these swing states in the Midwest, very, very small margins, right? Tens of thousands of votes. Sometimes 10,000 votes, sometimes 20,000 votes. We now see, for the first time, we're a net negative migration country. And that's because of self-deporting. That's obviously because of us deporting illegal aliens. Do you think that the map, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, even Minneapolis, do you think Minneapolis as a voting bloc looks different if all of the Somali scammers are gone? Hey, how about we do Illinois? Illinois is Chicago and the rest of the state.
Yeah.
Do you think there are 10,000? You think there are 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 illegal aliens there? Do you think that people who are not illegal aliens, who are working class Americans, middle class, upper middle class, do you think they feel that their vote is maybe being thrown away? Do you think that electoral map can change? Well, we know that it can because we're seeing seats change in California, in New York, seats being added in Texas and Florida. That is the death blow to the left, and they're going to get more aggressive to prevent it. You've got to stay the course.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, is this morally wrong? Is it morally wrong to deport anyone here illegally? If the answer is no, and you know that it's no, because 78% of you guys supported it, then you got to stay the course. Because for the first time, some peroxide's being put on the wound.
Yeah.
And you don't know what that looks like. This is what it looks like.
Yeah. And I think the focus thing, too, really quickly before we go on to chats, the focus, Trump has to do enough on the economy. In my mind, he does not need to be perfect on the economy. But people do have to live.
Yes.
People have to have lower cost of living. So we have to do enough on the economy. Mm-hmm. We cannot mess up the AI race. We cannot make the wrong decision, whether that's to pause, to go full bore, who's in charge, what guardrails. We cannot mess that up. Mm-hmm. That is the biggest thing that we've ever done in history as a species. I'm not even kidding. We cannot mess up China trying to box us out of all of these other countries around the world with their Belt and Roads Initiative and everything that they're trying to do to secure rare earth minerals, all of that. We cannot mess that up. They are getting that part right, I think, right now. The economy stuff, that'll come along. Domestically, we cannot mess up deportations and immigration. You cannot. You will not have a country if we do.
Right.
Those are the issues that we really have to get right. But he has to do enough on the other things that really do matter every single day to people trying to buy groceries and feed their families. Mm-hmm. You have to do enough. And I think he is doing enough. You do a little more, but he is doing enough.
And you individually, obviously you can vote, but you individually, you cannot screw up the dynamics of your family. So if you're a leader of the household, you need to be that. And if you are married to a leader of the household, you need to respect that. Because otherwise, it all ends up going away. Because if you don't get to those kids and lead by example, they will. The media will, and so will big tech. They will get to them first. You got to get that in order. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.